Yeah, hello, welcome to this video. Yeah, this will be a short video showing a game from the concluded European Club Cup. Concluded just today. Today there was the last round. It was played in Eilat in Israel, and this is really a super strong competition, the European Club Cup. I played this last year with my Dutch team, and it really was a great experience, simply because it was by far the strongest event I ever took part in. You had like probably 20-30 players above 2,700 playing in this event. So basically every top player was there, besides the ones that were playing elsewhere. And this year it was also very strong. It seems that the favorites from Azerbaijan, Sokar, won the event. A super strong team. Just think about Kamsky playing on board 5. He's got a rating of 2,750 or something, and he's board 5. And yeah, they've got a really huge team. But another thing which is always great about those tournaments, those team tournaments, you've got also those uneven matchups where sometimes the big guys play, yeah, sort of normal normal players, and like amateur players or good amateur players. They're not really really weak players there. But I want to show you a game here with the German number 1 Arkady Naidic playing black. He's 2,700 player, and the white player is an international master from Macedonia. He's rated slightly below 2,400, so around my playing level, but still 300 points to the good for black. So let's check this game out. Yeah, white seems to go for a Catalan opening, but Naidic, yeah, he's a well-known fighter. He's not the kind of person who wants to defend a slightly worse position for 60 moves against a weaker player. He wants to unbalance the game, so he plays c5, inviting a transposition to a Benoni with d5, which is accepted. White can also decline this by playing knight f3, and then we get very often a kind of English opening position. Here black has some interesting possibilities though. He can play d5 or all kinds of queen moves, trying to harass this knight. So but in the game white played d5, so we got a Benoni, modern Benoni, where white has played the fianchetto variation. All this looks pretty normal and has been played hundreds of times. Rook e8 is also a normal move. Sometimes black also plays a6 first. White played bishop f4. Yeah, this is an interesting decision. Very often white's automatic reaction to rook e8 in these kind of structures is to play knight to d2, controlling the e4 square, so that knight e4 is not possible anymore. And very often the knight, of course, finds a useful square on c4. In the game, however, white simply ignored this knight e4 and played bishop f4. We see that this looks to very peculiar positions. Black first plays knight to a6, queen to d2, probably intending yeah, an exchange of the bishops if possible. And now black knight c7, attacking d5, preparing b5, so rather normal. And white plays a4, preventing this b5 idea. And now knight e4. This is exactly the point of this setup with rook e8 early, and when white ignores this, we see what happens. Black has got a funny rook on e4, an active rook, but this now has nice ideas, lifting it to b4 with attack on b2. This is also why black tried to provoke a4 first, so that you've got this b4 square. Probably black is very good in this position, but I don't want to get too deeply into this. White tries to exchange the strong bishop, and black declines this. yeah, this is understandable. This is simply a brilliant piece. Don't want to exchange it. And white plays knight g5, an aggressive move. Looking at those two pawns, there's not much happening at the moment, but wait and see. Rook d4, winning a tempo on the queen. And now bishop to d7. Yeah, black trying to complete his development. He's got this idea of queen e8, attacking this pawn. This is rather funny. Black can attack it very often, and it's not easy to keep it. So white played e3, rook b4, with the attack on b2, and white covered this with rook a2. Yeah, this is the kind of move that shows that probably there's something wrong with white's position. He couldn't really go rook b1 because then a4 was just hanging. So rook a2, knight to a6, eyeing this square again. So one idea is to move the rook, or to introduce this knight b4 possibility. Let's say the rook at the moment doesn't have a really attractive square, but it can be tactically useful to have this knight b4 available. And f4. Yeah, this is the kind of move you play if you notice that you're positionally, yeah, let's say busted is a strong word, but you're close to positionally lost here as white. So you need to get something going. You cannot just sit and wait until the 300 points stronger player outplays you on the queen side. Or let's say you're already outplayed on the queen side, but just wins the game there. So white needs to get going, and he gets going with f4. I think this is a very good practical decision. Black now plays queen to e8, attacking this pawn. As mentioned, this is an idea, and now this is very important and a very good, practical advice or lesson to learn. If you're really bad in the game, you've got problems long term and need to get an attack going, you shouldn't really count pawns. So he played f5, the most aggressive move available. Even if it's not 100% working, it's the move you should play. You shouldn't think about passive defense like covering this pawn. Of course, you must cover it if it's simply the only move available to do that, but this is an aggressive move, and it's not immediately obvious how black should refute this. In fact, here it gets very tricky. Let's have a look. What would happen if black take the pawn? He didn't take it, but let's have a look. Check. Let's have black take the pawn. Yeah, it's a check, obviously, so king h1 is the only move. You don't want to get into a pin or exchange queens. And what now? Black has grabbed this pawn, but this is a really sensitive diagonal. White is threatening stuff like knight takes f7 with a discovery on the bishop on the queen, or taking on g6. It's not at all easy to play this position. Let's say, for instance, queen to e7, which looks like a normal move, returning and sort of covering up things. Then white has a really strong move with bishop h3. This is not at all easy to find. It's not the only move that gives a strong attack, but this seems to be the strongest. The idea is, if you look at this, let's say bishop f6 attacking this, white can take on g6. And after f takes g6, you've got bishop e6 check. So this bishop really nicely activated himself. And here it gets very difficult for black to keep this position together. Probably he's already clearly worse. If black doesn't take on e6, it gets very ugly. Got moves like h4 and then queen f2. This is really, really dangerous. And white always has knight f7 to make a draw. This makes it even worse from a practical point of view for black. So it's really dangerous. Queen e7 is answered by this bishop h3 move. At least very dangerous, probably good. And let's say queen e5, another idea, attacking here and strengthening this. Then white can simply take on g6, and the f-file really gets dangerous. It's for example, if black recaptures, let's say here, rook takes, bishop f5, First you think, okay, this is a useful tempo, but white just drops the queen back, and it's not at all clear how this should unfold. It's super complicated. White is on the king with a couple of pieces, and it's not clear how to continue. Let's say this move, just for example, it's not good, but let's just have a look at this. Black grab this. There's this possibility, attacking the bishop, and let's say this kind of defense. At the end, white will take here and still retains an attack against the king. It's simply, this king has no squares. I mean, this is always a huge indicator that you've got problems if your king is boxed in, and white has various ideas to strengthen this. So it's very tricky already. Capturing on e3 is really risky. At the end, he decided to take on f5 with the g pawn. And white, of course, this was the idea. Rook takes f5. You're not here to hesitate anymore. But here, okay, here it's pretty easy to see this move. If black would take now, then queen f5 simply checkmates. Very briefly, you can give a check here, but now it's simply over. Queen h7 mate is unavoidable. So black cannot take this, and here in this position he decided to actually grab the pawn, and this is probably the right decision. White played rook f2, and then f5. Yeah, what else? You need to cover this h7, this mate, and now rook a3. So already you notice white has some really active pieces. Those are active, and f5 very much weakened e6. So there are ideas with knight e6, and this is what happens. Queen e7 and knight e6. Of course, you cannot take care about this pawn on b2 or something. You need to get going. Knight e6. Also now attacking f5 with queen and rook. So it's very, very difficult for black to not take the knight. He took it. I think you have no choice. You need to get rid of this piece. And then he played bishop to d4. Yeah, obviously the idea that black is following here is to exchange pieces, and therefore, yeah, make the defense a bit easier. But white really doesn't care about material anymore. He didn't play bishop e3, which is playable. It's not a bad move. He took on f5, really going for it, and giving up the exchange on f2. And black took it. Yeah, it's not much else. You need to grab this. Yeah, and now have a look at this position. White has those three attacking units are great. The pawn, of course, is also an attacking piece here. Black's king is really in trouble. It doesn't have any good squares to go to. Very unsafe. And black, of course, can give a check, but white simply drops back and is secure with the king. So what should black do to defend this position? I think he played probably the best move. Knight c7. You can always consider taking, so let's say here, and then play knight c7. But the problem is a bit that this rook is loose. It's not covered, and a move like bishop e4 gets really tricky. This is the threat with the tempo on the rook, and this in fact is already lost for black. He has no move. It's really curious. This bad rook position costs the game. If black plays something like this, you go here, and black is toast. He cannot take on e6, and something like this simply loses the rook. So taking on b2 with check is probably a bad idea. Knight c7 was played. I think this is right. This is correct. And now rook to e3, covering the important attacking pawn. Yeah, and this is probably the critical position. And here, Knightage went wrong and lost the game as a consequence. Not so easy to see, but Here's the critical position. Probably he should play knight to e8, this move. It's not like the most obvious move ever, but this covers those squares, and this seems to be better. White has a really good attack for the material, and I'm not 100% sure that this really holds the game. I would need to put in more time to really figure out if this holds or not, if it loses as well. I think this is the only move that really makes it difficult for white. A possibility, just a sample line which would draw, and this shows that white has enough in this position, is this move, threatening queen f8 with checkmate. And something like this here. I'm not saying this is the best for white, but it shows that white is probably okay.
Check.
You can even get into this end game, and now rook e7 with the idea bishop d5. And this is probably a draw. Yeah, black will need to sacrifice one exchange back. He cannot play on without this. Check. So something like this here. This is simply so strong that black needs
Check.
to return an exchange, and it could Check. Continue like this, just a sample line. And this is probably good enough for a draw. It's not the best line for white, this rook f3, this one, but I'm just to prove that white is okay. It's good for me at the moment. So you could really look if white has something better than this move. Maybe he has. It's really dangerous. Okay, knight played rook to e8, and this fails, curiously enough, to bishop e3 with this really direct idea, bishop h5, bishop f7. Yeah, like a hockey puck. f3, h5, f7 to the goal here. And yeah, now black is lost. If you look at this a bit further, you see that black really has no defense. He played rook f8. We can look at some other ideas. If black would take, let's start with this. White can simply grab on e6 and queen e6, bishop d5. Probably will get at least it wins the queen, and probably it will end in checkmate because the king is so open. So black cannot take on e6. You can always consider this rook b2, but I don't think it helps much. Let's have a quick look. And now what should black do? I mean, he doesn't have any moves, big moves anyway. If he does a nothing move, let's say he plays b6, which doesn't do anything really, then there's this move coming. And let's say here, you just take it.
Check.
And this ends in checkmate.
Check. Check.
It's simply a super strong piece on f7. Black has no defense at all. So it's pretty typical that the piece that, in relatively speaking, is the one that is not taking part in the attack so much as the others. So queen, bishop, and so on. This is on g2. It's not doing so much. It's pretty typical that activating this really decides. If you manage to get in all your pieces, you often break through. So bishop f3 now wins the game with this funny maneuver. Yeah, knight played rook f8, last try. White took on f8. Queen f8, queen g5 check. King to h8. Not much choice. If you would play queen to g7, you've got this move coming. This is pretty typical, winning the game. So in the game after queen, he went to h8. Now e7. The passed pawn is strong, obviously. Yeah, if black would block it, you simply have this move. Oops, not this move. This one. And you push the queen away and promote. So he went here. Yeah, now white has a very neat finish. It's not difficult, but still nice.
Check.
E8 queen with check. Knight takes, rook
Check.
takes, and here knight is resigned in view of queen takes, the only move, queen
Check.
f6 check, king here, bishop
Check.
d5 check, and yeah, black has only got some desperado moves like this.
Check. Checkmate.
And mate, or alternatively queen f6, also checkmate. Yeah, so very nice game, which shows that 300 rating difference doesn't necessarily mean that the favorite on paper will always win the game, but you need to really grab your chances, and if you got some activity going, you need to push on, and this white really did very well in this game. So well deserved to win here in this club competition. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the game. I'll maybe look at some more games from this event, as I think there's often very interesting chess being played there, also because of these kind of sometimes uneven matchups. I think there probably have been some other upsets, but this is what I just found quickly when I browsed through the games. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will be back soon with new stuff.